Greetings and welcome to the mile-high cowboy city of Prescott, Arizona, where the Sharlot Hall Museum presents another radio adventure in Arizona Roundup.
Hello, this is Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum, and this week's Arizona Roundup features my special guest, Sally Jackson. Welcome, Sally.
Hello, thank you.
Sally is the Director of Development and Marketing here at Sharlot Hall Museum, but she's no stranger to Sharlot Hall and Yavapai County because she's a local native, but not just a native from the 1960s or 1950s. Sally, you told me before your family came here a long time ago, but not even by airplane. How did they get here?
No, they came by covered wagon in August of 1875.
Now that is early.
Very early.
Because the territorial capital was built here in Prescott in 1864, and the territory was founded the year before. So your family was early pioneers here in central Arizona.
Right.
And did they come from a short way along? Did they come from New Mexico or Texas, or where did they come from?
They came from Humansville, Missouri. They left the end of April. They traveled about 10 miles a day, and they got here the end of August.
All right. And did they settle in the Prescott area or somewhere else in Yavapai County?
No, their destination was the Verde Valley. Their intention was to go to the Verde Valley. My great-great-grandfather had a neighbor who had spent time in the Salt River Valley, the Phoenix area, and had come back to Missouri and told him about grass as high as the belly of a cow or horse, which, of course, we don't see that at all anymore.
Right. I think that's a pretty exciting story because, you know, a lot of people think of the pioneers who crossed the country and they went to California or they went to Oregon, but we rarely hear about the Santa Fe Trail connecting pioneers moving from the Midwest to Arizona. But they took the Santa Fe Trail as far as it would go and then connected up with some trails that had been developed into central Arizona. Right.
They left, I'm not sure where it would be exactly, probably around Holbrook. It branched off to Stoneman Lake area and then down over the rim to Beaver Creek, a stagecoach area in that area. And then he settled with his family in the Middle Verde area. So he came with a wife. They had 11 children. Of those 11 children, 6 were on the wagon train. Of those 6, 3 were under the age of 10.
That is just amazing.
And she lost one on the way outside of the petrified forest.
Wow.
So she had a miscarriage.
True American story of the pioneer wagon trains moving across the West with a goal of where they're going. You'd heard about this rich valley of rivers and creeks and farming opportunities. So were they farmers in Missouri or ranchers or a combination of both?
They were farmers. There were 9 wagons on the wagon train, and I think most of them were farmers. My great-great-grandfather was also a chaplain in the Civil War, and he was a licensed Baptist minister, and so that, of course, was part of his goal as well, is to come and settle in this area and preach.
Well, that's really interesting, Sally. Now, your family, I believe, eventually got into the fruit growing business and vegetable crops, truck crops as they call them, but did they bring any of their fruit trees with them, or did they arrived here and they said, we're going to homestead and set up farming?
You know, that side of the family, that's the Bristows. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure what they brought, but 5 years later, in 1880, my great-grandfather arrived from the Cape Elizabeth, Maine area. Now, he took the train. He took the northern route with an immigrant train with his friend. The reason he left Maine was his mother had passed away and his dad remarried. He did not get along with his stepmother at all. And his cousins had already come out to the Verde Valley in the mid-70s. And so he said, I'm going. Also heard about the high grass in the fertile area. So he came out, and it took him a month and a day, much shorter 5 years later. And I don't know that he brought anything with him, but he too was a farmer. And as soon as he could, started growing hay. A lot of the crop in the beginning was hay. Later, he moved to the Upper Verde, which is where Clarkdale is now.
Okay.
And they had orchards there. Eventually, probably like 1911, 1912, the crops were dying because of the smelter smoke and the development. And then so they sold that property near, and this is the Jordan side. They sold that property in about 1913, and they moved to Bridgeport, which is part of Cottonwood. But then they put in a smelter for World War I, all the smelter, copper production, and that smoke killed their killed their crops. And so that man, W.A. Jordan, led a lawsuit with about 13 other farming families against the copper company for air pollution. It went all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and they said, we don't consider air pollution to be a matter of national concern. 1923. Well, they sent it back to California, the Ninth Circuit, and they said, oh no, the farmers win. So when that settlement came in, my grandfather and his brother and their father, W.A. Jordan, they went to Sedona. Everybody told them they were crazy. The land in Sedona isn't worth anything. Why would you ever go there? We know that's a different story today.
Right, that's for sure. And let's put things in context for everybody. We're talking here in Prescott, which is the county seat of Yavapai County, and over the mountain, Mingus Mountain, where Cleopatra Hill is where Jerome sat and sits today, a great artist community, the great mining copper town of Jerome, and it sits above the Verde Valley. And there's mountain ranges on each side, creating this beautiful, or on all sides, you've got, and so if you drove to Sedona in the Verde Valley from here, we're talking about, 40 miles, 45 miles to Camp Verde? Well,
if you go on the freeway, it's an hour or about 60 miles. If you go over the mountain, it adds, because of all the curves and everything, narrow road, it adds another 45 minutes to Sedona.
But the beautiful, as you get up on the top of Mingus Mountain, you look down on the Verde Valley, the Mogollon Rim across the way, San Francisco Peaks and Flagstaff, Williams Mountain over, towards Williams, and it's one of the most beautiful vistas in the state of Arizona to see the Verde Valley laid out there across from, as the red rocks rise up against the Mogollon Rim of Sedona down towards Camp Verde and the flowing creeks of Oak Creek. And
of course, Verde is green.
Right.
Means green. So it used to be especially green. And at times of the year, where the river runs, the trees, it still can be very green.
Right. And so those early farmers started growing hay and crops, not just for themselves, but to serve the Fort Verde that was there, and the growing mining community and smelter community of Clarkdale and Jerome.
Right.
And before we take a break, do you think in those early decades that many of their crops, from hay to fruit and vegetables, went outside of the valley, or do you think they were kind of serving that kind of growing community in the greater Verde Valley with the mine and the fort?
I would say those very early days was just serving that immediate area. By the late 20s, early 30s, my grandfather's area that he served included Phoenix. His brother, George, served the Flagstaff area. And so they started branching out. By World War II, my grandfather was contracted to serve or to provide fruit, and I don't know if it was apples or peaches for World War II for the servicemen.
Well, that's a big story.
Yeah.
Well, we are gonna take a break and thank our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the growth of the fruit industry, including grapes, and how maybe that led to the growth of the wine industry in the Verde Valley, its great climate, and how we celebrate the orchard crops and the legacy of Sharlot Hall and her family here at Sharlot Cellar.
Thank thank you, Stuart, and thank you, Sally. This is going to be a great story. I can hardly wait for the rest of it. And, Stuart, you told me to remind you and remind all of us that we are very grateful for the many people in the Prescott area who've decided to be a part not only of Sharlot Hall Museum, but this new radio adventure called Arizona Roundup. So here we go. These are the people we want to thank, and these are the people we are hoping you will, drop in and tell them you appreciate their sponsorship, and then look around and support those local and wonderful businesses here in the Prescott area.
Since 1995, Helkin & Horn Ad Agency in Prescott, Arizona has helped local businesses stand out and succeed. From print and radio to websites and social media, their talented team crafts your brand's message and offers a plan to get it out into the community. Want results backed by 30 years of experience? Visit azadagency.com today. Helkin & Horn, where their slogan is "Be Known." If you're looking for the store that has everything, Prescott True Value Hardware might be your answer. From having that part to fix that leaky faucet to decorating your garden with charm, they've got it all, and a friendly face to match. For over 30 years, they've proudly served Prescott, supporting neighbors like you and local nonprofits along the way. Visit Prescott True Value Hardware. They're more than just a hardware store. Welcome back to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum in Prescott, Arizona. And my special guest today is Sally Jackson. Sally is an Arizona native. She grew up here in Yavapai County. We just learned a great deal about her family's pioneer past and the settlement of the Verde Valley in the 1870s. Really early on in central Arizona. And we know that just like her family coming out on the Santa Fe Trail and that route across northern Arizona, crossing the Little Colorado River to come down to the Verde Valley, Sharlot Hall's family left the Midwest in 1883 from central Kansas and moved just outside of Prescott and homesteaded out on Lynx Creek and near the Agua Fria. And one of the defining pieces of that story, Sally, that you bring to work every single day as our development director is water. Water for crops, water for farming, water to support a homestead community. How important has that management of water in the Verde Valley been to all the way up to the present in terms of its development of its modern wine industry? And obviously people had to have grown grapes when your family arrived here in the 1870s.
Right. So water, they say water in many ways was more valuable than gold in those early years. I know that when my family moved from the Cottonwood area over to the Sedona area, some of the local people who had been in the Sedona area before my family got there claimed that that my family didn't have water rights. But actually, Oak Creek is a tributary to the Verde, and therefore the water rights transferred to Oak Creek. So getting the water for my grandfather, getting the water from the creek up into a reservoir took a lot of pipe and blasting rock, hard rock. So water was critical for any kind of growth. Now, I don't know how much water the grape industry takes. My family didn't grow grapes, but there were some very early grape growers, the Sherman family in Sedona. There's some very old grapes in that land. But, when you travel around the Verde Valley right now and you look at some of the wineries, they're up on hillsides. Mm-hmm. And I think they're more of a dry crop.
Yeah, they're more xeriscaped, and I know there's a lot of incentives in Arizona for people to transfer water-heavy crops on the land in different parts of Arizona. The Cochise County in southeastern Arizona right. and Yavapai County are the two largest grape growing areas for wine, for viticulture, where we know in the lower desert valleys of Maricopa, Pinal, and even possibly parts of Yuma County. Yuma County does a lot more of their truck crops. Those lower desert areas are very well known more for their table crops, table right. grapes.
Did you know that Yuma has the biggest producer of lettuce in the country?
I do. I think everyone, if they enjoy a good salad in January across the country, their salad
Thanks
comes
to
from,
Yuma.
Thanks to Yuma. That's right. People don't, I think there's a lot of misconceptions across the country that we're just kind of flat like West Texas, but we're one of the most mountainous and most diverse states in terms of crop of agriculture in the Southwest. Arizona is a lot more complex than most people think in terms of its history of agriculture. It's a very diverse and very rich agricultural history here.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we have so many climates, and you can take a photo. I think we were talking about this the other day. You can take a photo from any state in the country and replicate it in Arizona.
That's right.
Pretty much.
That's right. Arizona Highways did a beautiful issue on that in years past. Mm-hmm. We have an event coming up here at Sharlot Hall Museum on May 17th called Charlotte's Cellar. Now, we know her family were early farmers with fruit trees, and we know that Yavapai County has had a very strong history of grape growing, and in the last 35, 40 years, really developed a very strong wine culture. Tell us a little bit about the origins of Charlotte's Cellar and what people can expect when they come to our event and how it celebrates their heritage, but also allows people to support our mission.
Okay. As far as, now I've been at Sharlot Hall Museum 2 years. And what I could find was that this event started in 2013, and it has evolved in different ways, but the last year and this year are very similar. We bring together a group of local restaurants, and in this case, one caterer, and they provide food, kind of bite-sized food, that's matched intentionally with specific wine from our wine distributor. And it's all wine that you can buy locally. It's not necessarily grown locally, but or produced locally, but you can buy it locally. So this year we have 11 vendors of various food restaurants, including the Bistro, St. Michael's, El Gato Azul, Torme, The Palace, Russo's, Shirley's, which is just now opening, Shirley's Urban Eats, State 48, Talking Rock is joining us this year, and Triple Creek, and Vincenzo's. And we pair that with, like I said, wine, including the Southwest Wine Center from Yavapai College. But also, this year, we're adding Lazy G for a beer option. Last year and this year, Superstition Meadery is coming, so you have that option as well. If you're the designated driver, we also have mocktails.
Which are delicious. I enjoyed those last year. I was the driver last year.
And so there's that just spread of tasting all of those different options. But then also we have some fun things. We have a silent auction, and we have a wine pull, which means you pick a cork out of a bowl, and whatever number is on it, the bag with that number that has the wine bottle in it, that's what you get. So it's kind of a mystery thing, but a lot of fun. And then this year we're adding something called Barrel of Chances, and that is where you buy a string of raffle tickets, and you get to pick which bottle or jar for which prize you want to get. So that's something new we're doing. Of course, we have some music. We have Arizona Philharmonic, and then we also have Carlos and his jazz trio.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah, and so it's a really important event for us because it's our big fundraiser, but it's a lot of fun for the community, and a lot of people just reconnect there and have a nice social time. And of course, it's on our beautiful grounds, which of course was just named as an arboretum.
Well, that's a good segue right there, Sally. Why don't we take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about Charlotte's Cellar and what people can expect that evening and how they can participate.
For over 45 years, Blind Brothers Arizona has been the heart of window style in Prescott. From blinds, shutters, drapes, they custom design and install with expert precision. Tailored to you, whether for your home or office, trust the name locals rely on. Visit blindbrothersaz.com today or call 928-776-1845 for a free consultation. That's blindbrothersaz.com at 928-776-1845. Blind Brothers Arizona, the original since 1979. Since 2007, Pinion Painting has been transforming homes and businesses with over 40 years of first-hand experience. They bring superior craftsmanship and an eye for detail to every project, making your vision a reality, hassle-free. Your time is precious. Trust Pinion Painting to get it right the first time. Visit Pinion Painting today and let them transform your space. On the web at pinionpainting.com. That's pinionpainting.com.
Welcome back to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum in Prescott, Arizona. And my special guest today is Sally Jackson. Sally is a native Arizonan. She grew up here in the Yavapai County in the Verde Valley, actually in Sedona. And she is our Director of Development and Marketing. And we are having a fun time in the segment before this, talking a little bit about the event, Sharlot Cellar, which is coming up on May 17th, which is 4 to 7 o'clock. It's held on our beautiful 4-acre campus amongst our gorgeous arboretum. The trees and the flowers will all be out mid-May, and we have some wonderful music that night to accompany our guests who will be enjoying. So $100 a piece. It's a donation to the museum. Helps fund our mission of education and our exhibits and our programs throughout the year. Tell us a little bit about what time it starts and the music and what they can enjoy while they're on campus during Sharlot Cellar.
So when they arrive at 4, they will be greeted at one of our three gates will be open, and they'll be greeted with some staff and volunteers who will give them their souvenir glass, as well as champagne or Martinelli's to start their evening. And then, and of course, a map and program so they can see where their favorite vendors are. And so they'll be able to wander around, and it's all just visiting whatever it is you want, what your taste buds are looking for that night. And then in our amphitheater on the west side of campus will be Carlos and his jazz trio. And then on the porch of the Fremont House will be a couple of musicians from the Arizona Philharmonic. I haven't heard yet what instruments or who's coming for that part, but usually we just have a couple of people. And then pretty much the whole night until it closes down, the silent auction and the raffle and the wine pull are all going in the middle of campus. And again, we have tables set up for people to sit and visit and kind of meet up with their friends, or you can just wander around through the gardens and find a spot and then move on to the next one.
And if people don't know what a wine pull is, to describe what a wine pull is at a charity auction like this.
So we have a rack. We have a rack that has anywhere from 50 to 75 bottles in a bag, each in a bag, and there's a tag on it, on each bag, and there's a bowl of corks, and if you pull out a cork, you pay an amount, it's $25. You pull out a cork, you pull out a cork, and if it's number 35, then you get bottle number 35, and the volunteer or a staff member will help you take it, and you take it out of a bag, and you're surprised.
It's a little surprise.
Yeah, you're surprised and delighted to get what you have just selected randomly.
And how many people do you think that tickets are still available at charlottehallmuseum.org? And that's a great way that you can go on our website and purchase your tickets for $100. It's a 21 and older event.
Correct.
And the we're looking at about 200, 250 people.
We're looking at 250 to 300.
Oh, okay.
That would be our ideal goal. Now, I understand a number of years ago, there were many, many more people, and it was just too much. But we heard last year that it was just a great amount. We had about 250, and we had feedback from the guests saying, This was so nice. It was there weren't long lines at all. It was easy to get through, and it was just an enjoyable event.
Very relaxing. Great evening to celebrate the mission of Sharlot Hall. We are approaching our centennial in 2028. We are one of 3 state museums. The Arizona Historical Society, has a museum in Tucson and one in Tempe, and we're the 3rd here in Prescott. And our archives and library and our exhibits all celebrate that history and heritage of our great state, going back to the pre-Columbian era of Yavapai County and our neighbors, the Yavapai Indian tribe, and also then our pioneer past here at Sharlot Hall. Will any of the buildings be open while we're having our evening?
I don't think so. The transportation building, at least to get to the restrooms, and the Lawler building for the restrooms, but the actual exhibits and things, we have not had them open.
And if anyone comes to visit the museum between now and the 17th, can they buy their tickets at the front depot if they, aren't online, or would they still be buying them electronically at the front desk?
They'll be online. Yeah.
All right.
Or they can get a hold of me, or the front desk can get a hold of me and help.
Is there a phone number you want to give out that if people want to call to buy a ticket today? What's our phone number for them to call the front gate?
I don't know. I don't remember our front number. My number is 928-277-2015.
All right, and so you can call Sally at the museum, or you can go on charlottehallmuseum.org to purchase
under our
tickets,
events tab.
Under the events tab,
Yep.
And you type in Charlotte's SHARLOT Charlotte's Cellar, and will it come up online, or do you need to do charlottehallmuseum.org?
I think the safer thing is charlottehallmuseum.org.
Okay.
And it's SHARLOT.
Right.
Because most people don't recognize that
CH,
spelling.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything that is there a favorite restaurant that's coming, or they're all our favorites? But is there something that people who like that we have a great kind of food culture here in Prescott? I'm really looking forward to the evening and trying all the different foods from our vendors. Great.
I really can't name a favorite, because I know anytime I mention any of them, people's eyes light up,
right,
and they're excited. I know that Barry Barb and El Gato has been one of the longest ones. He was here back in 2013. I'm not sure who else has been here as long as that. We do have some new ones this year, and I think people are excited about that. Again, adding the beer, that's something that people have been looking forward to.
That meadery has been here in Prescott for a while. They're right there, and they have a downtown.
Yes, and I've had people ask, are they going to be back? And I've said yes, and so they're excited.
And what's the name of that meadery again?
Superstition Meadery.
Superstition Meadery,
yeah.
Right. And and I think that kind of is a little homage out to the apple culture of your hometown of Sedona. Some of the best apples in the state are still grown in the Verde Valley, aren't they?
I think so. A lot of the orchards are gone, unfortunately, now. But again, getting back to the Verde Valley and the Yavapai College Southwest Wine Center, they have a lot of awards. They've been really recognized, and it's really great to have them back as well.
Yeah, I think so. And I know that in Arizona, like Cochise County, again, we mentioned earlier, in southeastern Arizona, they're known for their apples and their wheat and their chilies. And they're kind of they're an elevation similar to the Yavapai County, so mile high, 3,500 to 5,600 feet, growing regions. And if you want to, what's the last few things you want to share with folks out there if they're interested in coming to Sharlot Cellar and what they're going to experience that night?
I think if you've been to the museum before but have never been in the evening, it offers a completely different feeling. It's beautiful. The light is beautiful. If you have never been to the museum at all, it's just a great way to kick off the summer months, and a great event. And of course, all of it supports our work and how important our work is in preserving history and sharing it. And, there's something for everyone at Sharlot Hall Museum.
Well, thank you, Sally. Appreciate you being on the show this week. We'll have you back on this summer to talk about some more upcoming events, but really looking forward to Charlotte Cellar, and I hope that everybody who's interested in attending this event will contact us and make May 17th from 4 to 7 o'clock. Circle it on your calendar and go to charlottehallmuseum.org to get your tickets today.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week. We're back here on Arizona Roundup at Sharlot Hall Museum with Stuart Rosebrook. Thank you.
Looking for a fun educational outing? Sharlot Hall Museum isn't just a history display, it's an experience. From the Prescott Indians Art Market to Charlotte Cellar, living history adventures, author presentations, and lecture series, there's something for everyone. Uncover the past and create new memories today. Visit charlottehallmuseum.org to see our full event lineup. That is charlottehallmuseum.org.
Well, that's a wrap, and what a wonderful program. Stuart just started within the last year or two to say, Stan, I'd like to learn how to be on the radio. He's a world-class editor, writer, and publisher, and look how good he has become. And you yourself might also want to be on the radio. Well, first of all, why don't you think about doing that and reach out to me at stan@witradio.net, stan@witradio.net. But remember, we come your way from the wonderful world of the Sharlot Hall Museum in Prescott, Mile High Cowboy City in Arizona. So check us out, check the town out, check the arena out, charlottehallmuseum.org, charlottehallmuseum.org. Hey, come back next week. We've got some more great programs, more great stories, and more adventures, and we look forward to you joining with us. All the best and blessings to you till next week. Next time, bye for now.